We are live, and on this episode of the No Ceilings NBA Draft Show, we asked the No Ceiling staff to give Albert and I some questions for a 2026 preseason NBA Draft Q&A. That is coming up next on the NBA Draft Show. What is going on? Welcome to the No Ceilings NBA Draft Show. My name is Corey Tullaba. I am here as always with my co-host Albert Garbage Time Gim. Back like we never left. New intro. It's your boys. You already know. Albert, what's going on, my man?
I can't contain the excitement after watching that new intro video. I feel like the blood is pumping. I feel incredible. I can run through that brick wall behind you, Corey, of your green screen. But no, it feels great. I'm excited. It feels like we're home. I feel like I'm like, I don't know, like after a long day of work, you just like get into some shorts and a t-shirt and you're just relaxed and you feel great is kind of how I feel right now. Feels great to be back. I'm excited to kind of go through some of these questions, kind of shoot the stuff. I gotta watch my language, right? Yeah, I'm excited to talk draft, Corey. It's a great time to be alive.
It most certainly is, man. Like you said, we're back on the feed. It's been a minute. We are two of the hosts on the NBA Draft Show with No Ceilings from Locked On, and we're back to fulfill our duties. So this is a little bit of a different take on a Q&A. It's preseason, so like we don't chop it up with the team as much as maybe we do on prospects throughout the regular season. So instead of like going to the internet and asking for questions. And if you are watching along live on YouTube, first, make sure that you like and subscribe. But if you do leave your question, we will get to it at the end. But first, we're going to hit questions from the No Ceilings staff members to see what's on their mind. And to me, Albert, it seemed like there was one thing primarily on the mind of the No Ceiling staff, and it seemed to be the returners. Is going to be a big kind of topic here. So let's start it out. We're going to take a question from our friend Nathan Grubel. We're going to start it out. He asks, who is the upperclassman, non-frosh, that's most likely to break into the top 5?
First off, great question, Mose Shroot. Really appreciate Really appreciate the question here. Corey, for me, this is, man, I feel boring saying this, but you know what? I'm going to be honest, Corey. I'm not super deep into the woods yet. I was talking to some people and I was talking to Kyle Man and just like accepting the fact that after last draft, I think I really needed a little bit of a mental break. And so I feel like I'm just kind of getting back into the swing of things. And I think obviously us doing the lockdown show has been like a big part of that as well, kind of lighting a flame to my butt. But the boring answer I'm going to give so that we can talk about him and then kind of go from there is, man, I have a lot of trouble pronouncing his name just because there's so many vowels in it.
It's a tough name.
Jaden Quintance, I think is how they say it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But there's a lot of A's there. Anyway, Jaden Quintance, a guy that I'm intrigued by, obviously, Corey, for a lot of different reasons. Let me give you my short spiel on him and why I think he's exciting. He played college basketball last year at the age of 17, and I think that's pretty damn impressive, although in England we have kids that are 15 years old playing soccer, which is unbelievable as well. But the fact that he played at 17 playing against guys in college basketball, he didn't have the greatest season, but there's a lot of stuff on his film where you're like, damn, there's a lot to get excited about with him and I think obviously it starts on the defensive side of the ball. I think the way that he can move at his size is actually special. And I actually want to use that word because it's kind of freaky and not very common. and I think deserves and is worthy of that term. It is pretty special to watch him play defense at that age, and I think the power that he can play with, but also the fluidity and the explosiveness that he plays with, and then the fact that like he can flip his hips the way that he can,
Yeah.
and stay low to the ground and use his length, is really really special. So he's my guy that I think could definitely scratch himself into that conversation. And I know it's kind of boring because a lot of people are going to have him there, but like I just feel like although he's not an upperclassman, so maybe I should take that back. But I
No,
still want to talk about him, Corey.
he's the
Yeah.
only answer.
Okay.
He's the only one as current where we're at in this process. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I freaking love, a Bennett Sturts, a Tahad Pettiford, guys that we're probably going to talk about. But that's not how the draft plays out, and Jaden is going to be 18.9 years old on draft night after completing his second college season. Previously at Arizona State, this year he will be playing at Kentucky. I mean, he is going to be so young. Like, one of my questions is like trying to figure out, because like you said, his season was very up and down. Obviously, the Arizona State situation, not the best place necessarily to hone your game as a freshman. But defensively, there was so much special. Offensively, very raw, inefficient, terrible at the free throw line. He did take some threes. So, you kind of like to see that. But he had a 9.5 or 9.8 block percentage and like a 2.2 steal percentage. Like, he's in pretty rare company as far as being able to guard the perimeter and create like steals and pokeaways, deflections, and then also protect the rim. That defensive versatility is very, very intriguing. I think it'll come down to like, is he more like Bam Adebayo, or is he more like Onyeka Okongwu, or is it more like Nerlens Noel? Like I think there's like a kind of a wide gap on who he could be, but he's going to be younger than Okongwu and Bam on draft night after finishing his second season, right? So like, while I think that his offense is well behind just as far as like his touch, his efficiency, I think he's shown passing flashes. Like, there is some intrigue. He could take guys off the bounce. He had like a poster off the bounce against Arizona that was ridiculous. But I think truly because of the combination of his age, I think his metrics are going to really pop. I think he's going to a good system in Kentucky that's going to, do a lot for him. He's really the only answer. Now, I don't have him in the top 5 to start the year. But as far as who as a returner in my mind could do it, I think it's him.
Yeah. Corey, the dunk you mentioned, I think that was on Vsar, right? The center.
I think so.
I think so. Ferocious, absolute nasty stuff. I'm right there with you, Corey. Another thing, we just did a pod on Tunde. He's going to be 2 years younger than Tunde on draft night, which is insane to think about.
Yeah.
Right. Unbelievable stuff, how young he is, and the fact that he's going to have 2 years of college basketball experience under his belt. I'm with you, Corey. I think he's interesting. Some other names that might come up though, right? Just like if you're like really optimistic about these guys, like maybe the Florida guys get into that conversation. How Condon, maybe, right?
Maybe
but
how?
Top 5 feels like way too rich, even if
Yeah.
you're like an optimist with those guys. And so, unfortunately, and maybe Nathan, maybe the other guys who have similar questions have a different answer for us. But right now, I think it has to be Jaden. And I can't really think of anyone else that's even, maybe if you're like the biggest Yaxel guy on the planet, maybe you could talk yourself into him having an
be like 24.
Exactly. And like, we don't see 24-year-olds go in the top 5 ever. So yeah, I think for me, Corey, the answer has to be Jaden and only Jaden.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cut and dry. All right, our friend Rowan Kent asks, which now sophomore guard prospect from last season who didn't declare for the 2025 draft could rebound to be drafted highest in 2026? He gave us a list of Jalil Bethia, Paul McNeil, Ian Jackson, Boogie Fland, LeBaron Philon, or Darren Harris. I also have an off script answer as well, but as did anybody from that grouping stand out to you?
I tried to just keep it within the options he gave us. Shout out to Rowan too. Big Mariners fan. Just wanted to throw that out there. Don't know why. Big dumper. Anyway, of the guys that he listed, I like Boogie Flan. Obviously, he lost a chunk of the season to injury. If he hadn't got hurt, I feel like he could have went pretty high in the draft. A guy that is really interesting guard, good defender. I think there's a lot to like with him. The main guy that came to mind though, Corey, that I thought you'd want to talk about because we did a pod on him last preseason, I think. Darren Harris. You also did an interview with him back in the day. I think a lot of people are going to be like, hey, Nick Kamenia is coming in. Is he going to take, most of the minutes as like a floor space or whatever? My thing is, why not have both on the floor together is kind of where my head is going. Have two absolute bombers from outside on the floor, creating space for Cameron Boozer. Sounds really enticing for me. So I feel like Darren might come in and have a really fun sophomore season and could really kind of elevate himself in a way. Because I feel like, Corey, I don't think a lot of people are talking about Darren Harris, right? No. Other than Rowan bringing up this question to our attention. And I think he's got a real opportunity there. And if he can be like a running mate with Nick Kamenia and them just floor spacing the hell out of the floor together, I think is really interesting. So those would be my two answers.
Yeah. I mean, my heart says Darren Harris, because his game is so smooth. His jump shot is absolutely gorgeous. I hope he gets on the floor. There's been reports that, from people who have seen like the Duke practices, scrimmages, etc., that are optimistic that he's going to see time this year. And the fact that he didn't transfer in this era, maybe he got like, the coaching staff is like, hey, like you're going to have a real opportunity here to earn minutes at Duke this season. But it's going to be crowded. There's outside of Kamenia, you have Isaiah Evans returning, you have Caden Boozer coming in, Caleb Foster is returning, right? Like there still is a pretty loaded backcourt at Duke, as I mean, that's what they do. They load up. That's what my heart says. I mean, my head says maybe LeBaron Philon, the jumper really comes around and, he's got a little bit more size. And then, his ability to get guys involved and play both sides of the ball. Yeah. A name that I'm intrigued at, Jalil Bethia is interesting though. And I saw him live at your alma mater, Baruch. And, I was not super impressed. Ian Jackson was in that game. Carter Knox was in that game. Yeah. But going to the situation that he's in compared to the situation he was in, he's going to Alabama, to where he was on that really unstructured Miami team last year. That was not a good situation for anybody. And I forgot who they were playing, but there was a national team. Maybe it was Duke. He went on like a heater in that game, at least in the first half. And you're like, all right, there is something here with him. Maybe he's still a year away, but maybe he bounces back in a way that like Aiden Holloway did transferring. He's an interesting name for sure. I like the Boogie Flan call out. If he finishes at the rim more efficiently, that's a name that obviously like is gonna, I think, be a riser up boards, especially because Florida is, primed to make another run at the national championship. Paul McNeil is an interesting guy for sure at NC State, but NC State has some guys on that roster as well, so I don't know if it's a guarantee. He did start coming around at the end of the year. Ian Jackson, as a Johnny's fan, he's a guy that I'm excited to see in that scenario, and he had a stretch of games where he was just giving everybody buckets. Let's see if he can kind of get guys involved too and really hammer down on defense. My real answer, he wasn't on the list. Tahad Pettiford. He also, much like LeBaron Philon, didn't declare. And, I just love that dude's game. 6'1" in shoes, 6'5" wingspan. So he measured well at the combine. Dumb athletic, ridiculous shot maker. gets guys involved. He's going to have the keys this year. I love that he's getting a chance to come back and refine his game. That's my answer.
Okay. Corey, we've never had a conversation, I think, on a pod about him that you just mentioned that I want to talk a little bit about, because I find myself having, and it may be because I'm a Knicks fan and I've had a lot of these types of guards on our squad. I have a lot of trouble with LeBaron. And I know he has a lot of fans. I know even within our No Ceilings family, I think Nathan absolutely loves him. And every time he talks about him, it makes me hate Nathan even more. But
but our good friend, shout out again, Kyle Mann, loves LeBaron too.
Right. So, Corey, can we have this conversation? If you can sell me this pen on LeBaron finally, just because with LeBaron, it's for me, this is just me. When I watch him play, I'm like, why am I interested in another Elfrid Payton?
That was where my brain goes. I knew you were going there.
And I'm just like, I'm not interested in Elfrid Payton again. If you can, though,
the shot's got to come around.
Okay.
The shot has to come around. It's as simple as that. The shot has to come around. Now, look, is he interested? He's dynamic with the ball in his hands. He's shifty. He's a good playmaker. He gets to the basket and creates paint touches. He can really defend, quick hands, good in the passing lanes, good length. But like you said, there's a lot of Elfrid Payton vibes who people were excited about. And look, Elfrid Payton has had a long NBA career.
Yes.
Right. So if LeBaron is more of a guy that is, going to be a journeyman, but he's consistently getting either starting minutes on teams that aren't so great, but also maybe as a backup. Maybe he's like a Delon Wright kind of guy, another guy that, you got to see on the Knicks roster. He's an NBA player, right? And now it's just going to be like, all right, well, is the shot going to be there? Are you going to shoot it off the bounce with a hand in your face, coming off ball screens? Is that a thing that's going to happen? And if it is, then he's also a guy, going back to the first question, that you go, all right, if there was going to be a returner going in the top 5, if he just all of a sudden became a really confident volume shooter, that's a guy who maybe sneaks into that range as well. But again, I'm skeptical too, because a lot of times with when the shot is the question and you're a guard, it becomes a little bit of an uphill battle.
No, I agree, Corey. I wanted to ask a question, and it's funny. We're at this point, we're the old married couple. You know exactly who I'm thinking of, but I just wanted to hear your perspective, because
stylistically, it's so.
Yes.
It's there. It is. It is what it is. All right. Next question, and I combine these two actually. Okay. They're from editor-in-chief Nick, and then newly crowned draft sicko Jam. Make sure you listen to Jam and Steven do their draft sicko show on this feed as well. Nick's question was, with a pretty clear freshman top 3 and the NBA prioritizing youth even more than ever in the last draft, which upperclassmen are best primed to make a push for the top of the draft? We've kind of hit on those names a little bit. And then Jam said, who will be the highest drafted upperclassman, and how high will it be? So kind of combining those with what we've already talked about. For me, I'll answer, I think I'm just willing to bet on him. I just am. I love Tahad that much that I'm willing to say that I could see a team, especially in a draft that I'm not sure yet about the depth of it. And if there are going to be guys who are so talented that you're going to just bypass somebody who I think is a premier shot creator. We just saw Jeremiah Fears go 7, and I'm not sure that I liked him more than I liked Tahad as a prospect. Yeah. And now we're getting a second season with Tahad with the keys, where maybe we could see some improvements. And I think he can go in the 10 to 14 range potentially. We saw Rob Dillingham go in at 8, 2 years ago. So yes, small guards, but again, measured well, super athletic. And then Bennett Sturts, I think he's a lotto caliber talent, but I think his age is going to work against him.
Okay.
I do. Should it? Probably not. I think that there's an opportunity that he kind of is Austin Reeves-ish in the NBA,
Mm.
but Austin went undrafted.
Mm.
Like, Bennett Sturridge was a hot name last year, and again, I had him in my personal lottery rankings. I just don't think he's sexy enough for teams. He's going to really, really have to, at his age, I think he's going to be almost 23. He's going to really have to do some special stuff at Iowa next year, and maybe he does, but I still think he's fighting an uphill battle with that age. I think, like Nick said, the NBA does prioritize youth pretty heavily in the draft.
Corey, I'm gonna go a little. This might be hot takey, out of left field. No one's gonna see this coming. I don't care. I'm gonna tap into my roots here a little bit. It's a guy that is an upperclassman. He's on his second team now. I think he's a junior, maybe senior. He's walking into a team that just won the national championship. A guy that you, Corey, have seen many times, that I know you're a fan of, but no one will talk about in this type of conversation. But I think I've seen in the offseason he's added some weight. He's walking into a great situation where I think he could shine. I'm actually going to go Xavier Lee.
I love it.
And Xavier's a guy that, Corey, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm Asian and he's Asian. I've tried to avoid the conversation. But a guy who is Korean Canadian, so a little different from me because I'm Korean American. But
he speaks French.
Maybe he might speak a little French depending on where in Canada he's from. Yeah, I speak American. Just kidding. But Xavier, I think, is interesting, Corey, just because the type of player that he is, right? He's a dynamic scorer, a guy who's got some real wiggle to him with the ball in his hands. And I just feel like because no one's going to talk about him, I think it's an interesting pick here. And let's say Florida goes on another title run because they're bringing back Condon. They got Haug. They've got a lot of firepower coming into the season, following up in a year when they won the national title. He might be walking into a really good situation for him to show that he can make it on the highest level, right? After being successful in the Ivy for Princeton. Now he comes into Florida and he goes, man, I've got game and I'm going to show it on the biggest stage I can in college basketball. If it works out, and we see the increase in strength and him being able to take on more contact against a higher competition, what if he goes on this magical run? Maybe it's the Jay Lynn of college basketball, right? He becomes Jeremy Lin of college basketball. He gets all this attention. Florida makes an incredible run once again, and then suddenly he's in the conversation to go in the lottery or in the teens, something crazy like that, right? Yeah. Like Corey, back in the day when UConn won the title and Khalid El-Amin was their point guard, didn't he go 20th in the draft or something like that? What if that happens with Xavier Lee, right? Where they go on another title run and then he gets taken in the first round. I'm just kind of throwing
even Walter Clayton last year, right? What if he's the one and not Boogie Flan who kind of steps into that Walter Clayton-esque role? Right. I think, I could see that. I love Xavier. He's so much fun. Seeing him in person, there is this palpable energy that you feel when he plays. So I think he's obviously going to be in a way better situation as far as being able to play off of more talent than he was able to do on a night-to-night basis at Princeton. So I love that call out. He's a guy that I thought of. I don't know how high he goes pushing for the top of the draft, but I do think there is a first round outcome. Also, he's familiar with the draft process. He's gone through combine settings before. So he's definitely been there, done that. Other guys, and shout out to Norin Rad, who mentioned him in the comments. If you are watching live, throw us a comment and also a like and subscribe to the No Ceilings channel. He mentioned Adrian Woolley at Louisville. That's a name that I have in my notes as well. Lefty, dynamic, gets to it off the bounce. He can knock down shots off the bounce. He gets to the rim. He can make plays. Defensively good. We'll see what that looks like at Louisville. I don't think he's going to start. They have Michael Brown, who obviously is getting a lot of love. Ryan Comwell transferred, so that backcourt he might be the odd man out there as far as, but coming off the bench, I think he's got an opportunity to play off either one of those guys pretty seamlessly. He's really interesting. Had big game in a win against Rutgers last year early on, where we were kind of like, is this Rutgers team good? And he was kind of the wake up call for a lot of people. Magoon Guath from San Diego State is a really interesting name. I mean, anytime you got a 7-foot shot blocker who shoots threes, there's going to be some people who are fans of that kind of prospect. We'll see if, the offensive efficiency near the rim improves. Maybe if there are any passing flashes. I think he's the most intriguing prospect on that San Diego State team. And then Yaxel Lindeborg, again, he's a guy that, I don't know if the NBA is as high on him as like the draft community online is. I just asking some questions about him at Hoop Summit to some people who worked in the league. They were all kind of pretty confident he was going back to school. Like it didn't seem like anybody was really eager to kind of give him any promise. He's going to be another year older. He's going to Michigan. Maybe he takes that Danny Wolf role, but we saw how like intriguing and weird Danny Wolf was, and he went at the end of the draft, and he's younger than Yaxel is going to be. Now Yaxel also has ridiculous length, better athlete. So he's intriguing and he's a bit of a wild card, but I think he might fall a little bit more in that Rasheer Fleming box where he's more skilled, but I think he goes closer to 20 than he does to 10. 7 Iguanas says Miles Bird, JT Toppin. We'll probably talk about Miles Bird in a little bit. JT Toppin, another good call out. He's obviously interesting as far as, upperclassmen returners. Definitely a pro. If he shoots it, we'll see. I think if he shows some outside shooting, he's going to be real interesting. But I think there's some Brandon Clark in there with JT Toppin as far as role, and I think that's going to be intriguing to teams.
I just had one more, Corey, that I wanted to throw in. What if, and look, this is a situation where I watch them play a lot. I get credentialed by them every single year. UCLA. What if Donovan Dent comes in and he's able to finally just string everything together? Just because, look, Corey, as you know, I've been going to tons of UCLA games the last 3-4 years. It's very rarely been like a really fun experience. I mean, ever since Jalen Clark and Jaime left, it hasn't been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
But
you did get to see a Daymara warm up though, quite a bit.
I did.
He'll be an interesting fit in Michigan now with Yaxel in that front court and Mo Johnson.
If anybody ever wants to come have a conversation with me about a Daymara, I've got a lot of stories to tell you. But with Donovan Dent, I'm just wondering, Corey, because that team, they've got a couple guys coming in as transfers as well, upperclassmen, whatever. I just wonder, like, his playmaking ability. He's able to kind of organize the floor, be kind of the extension of Coach Cronin on the floor. Wondering, could he be the one to kind of finally kind of make things make sense there, and be like a really interesting option for them? It was the other guy that came to mind, and a guy that I thought was really good. And him coming into this situation, maybe he can really shine and show that he can kind of bring this UCLA program back to where they used to be. I think could be a lot of fun.
Great call out. He's a guy, he's obviously been on radars for a while. The last 2 years, he's at least been in the conversation in some capacity, but I think he's really going to be great for guys like Bilodeau, for Eric Daly, guys like that who like have some real skills, but kind of need that organizer that they haven't had. And Donovan Dent is so dynamic getting to the rim. He's maybe the best playmaker in the entire NCAA, like he's a ridiculous passer. He's shoot it a little bit, right? Just let that thing fly, baby. Let it fly. You're out in Cali, warm weather. We letting it fly out there.
Really quickly, though, the Bilodeau shout out, Corey. I saw him play a couple times last year. Intriguing.
Yeah.
Like he actually has some stuff to him. So,
yeah, he's good. He can play. All right. Tyler Rucker says, this is where things start to get a little more pessimistic as far as our questions go here. Tyler Rucker says, which projected lotto pick or first rounder is most likely to fail to live up to the hype. His example was Jaden McDaniels, who, obviously got some Kevin Durant comps, but ultimately played on a weird Washington State team that, he just didn't have the year that people thought he could have, and he went at the back end of the first round. And he's obviously shown that he was better than his college season went, but he didn't live up to that hype. So, who came to mind for you?
I had two guys. The first one's gonna be Nate Ament.
Okay.
Yeah, just because with Nate, like, man, Corey, I had such a weird experience with him at the Nike Hoop Summit where I saw him have like one really good practice, and I was like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah.
And then like almost every time I saw him play after that just got progressively worse. And then in the actual Nike Hoop Summit game, I thought he was a train wreck.
He was a ghost.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like in my notes, I wrote, I'm scared about Nate Ament because he sometimes looks really scared on the floor.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real thing, Corey, because Corey, we talk about this a lot. Confidence on the floor is almost half the battle. Like feeling like you belong and being confident in your skill set and what you can do as a basketball player, I think is a huge part of that mental game. And I think there were moments that I felt like even on film, just watching him kind of go into Tobias Harris mode a little bit.
Yeah.
And that scared
Long Island
me a
legend,
bit.
Tobias Harris.
You're right. Long Island legend. Where is he from? Farmingdale? No.
He played at Hills West.
Okay, Hills West. Okay. But anyway, Long Island legend.
Or Hills East. His brother played at the other one. I don't know.
Other guy I had was Chris Sinak. And so my thing with Chris, I like Chris Sinak. Yeah. My only thing is he might be a 2-year guy. Is my thing. Like him playing for that Houston team, that context, maybe he doesn't get like the amount of play time he's looking for. Maybe like coaching staff, they tell him, hey bud, you gotta tighten some stuff up defensively because you know how the Houston team goes, right? Like maybe he's not up to snuff when it comes to how he's playing on the defensive end, and then he doesn't get as many minutes, and then it becomes a thing where it's like, okay, he's got to come back a year. So I like both players. I want to be clear about that. I do like both players, but you just wonder, like, could it be a situation where they need another year before they're ready for the NBA is kind of where my head is at with them.
Yeah, I think those are two great call outs. Sinek did some pretty crazy stuff, both in the practices, some of the games I saw between McDonald's and Hoop Summit. But then there were also times where you're like, I was kind of raw. But I think I saw a picture today. He has like a 7'3" wingspan, or maybe it was 7'5". Like, I don't know, some ridiculous wingspan. I think that both of those guys, the tools are going to be too enticing to teams with the way the draft currently is constructed with talent, that I'd be hard pressed to see either of them fall out of the lotto at this moment in time. It's obviously not impossible. Like maybe Sinak just doesn't get a ton of playing time. Maybe, the JoJo Tugler is just dominating minutes and the fit is weird. And like you said, he's a 2-year guy. Nate Ament, I just didn't like him. I wasn't impressed by anything he did at Hoop Summit. He was more intriguing at McDonald's, but even there, like I had a bunch of other guys in my notes that I focused on. But ultimately, again, like 6'9", 6'10", whatever he has, guys who can make shots and can dribble and pass a little bit and then can defend. Like he's just got too many tools. But going through some of the preseason draft boards, I also had two guys that stood out to me. Darius Acuff. I do not like the situation he's going into. He's a short guard. Now he's strong. He's dynamic with the ball. He gets into the paint. He can shoot off the bounce a little bit. He can pass. Sometimes he gets tunnel vision. But he's going to be playing with DJ Wagner. The spacing on that team, I do not love. Like Billy Richmond, I think he's going to get a ton of time, and I like him as a prospect. I'm just a little wait and see with Acuff. I think Pettiford's a better prospect. Here's my other guy, and I don't get it. Dash Daniels. I don't get the Dash Daniels thing at all. Dash Daniels is the brother of Dyson Daniels, looks just like him. Going into his film, there's like, yeah, he's kind of fun defensively. I think his offense is so far away, like Hail Mary far, that if a team takes him, I think they're throwing away a pick. Like I just straight up, I just don't at this point. I don't think he's an NBA player. Like I don't think he's an NBA prospect at this, like in the short term. I don't like how he gets to the rim. He's always like settling for the floater. I definitely don't like his outside shot. There's just not, for me, I just don't see anything that I can point to that he can hang his hat on that makes me go, we have to draft this guy high. Outside of his brothers in the NBA.
No, Corey, we did a scout on him before Hoop Summit, and then he got hurt, and we didn't get to see him at all at Hoop Summit, which is unfortunate because I feel like that might have given us a little bit more context, right? We might have, you might have disliked him even more. But Corey, I think both guys are, Acuff is another one where I'm like,
I get it with Acuff. Even if he's not always my cup of tea, I can see why he would be somebody else's. I don't see, if you're selling that brand of tea, your shop's closing down. For Daniels, for me.
Yes, I agree. Acuff, the Corey, he kind of reminds me of, like, you know how like people talk about New York City guards? Like Acuff feels like a New York City guard.
He does.
There's like an aggression to his game, the way he likes to get downhill, but then also like he's a good shooter as well, which makes him interesting. I know he's been comped to a lot of different guys. I feel like there might be a sniff of Stephon Marbury to his game, but then,
definitely stylistically.
Right, but then also, like, if you imagine, like, Corey, like, what does Stephon Marbury look like in 2025? I think is also an interesting question, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. I think both guys are good call outs. The Dash one, obviously. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. But yeah, Acuff is still interesting, but I can also see what you're saying because of the context. So yeah.
All right. So that is part one of our pessimistic question. Now we have a question from our friend Maxwell, who is doing a wonderful job over with Nathan on the Locked On NBA Draft Show with No Ceilings. Maxwell says, seemingly every year, there's a highly touted returner who doesn't meet expectations. Think Riley Kugel, Hunter Salas, Kwame Evans. Which returning prospect do you fear might not live up to the hype?
I have one answer for this one.
Okay.
I don't know how people are going to take this. Maybe they hate me for it. I don't know. I kind of feel like he should have stayed in the draft last year. Because I'm not exactly sure how he's going to be better this year for the Duke team. Isaiah Evans is my guy, Corey.
Interesting.
And I go, I'm not 100% set on this, but I'm kind of wavering. I don't know. Just because, like, man, Cam's going to come in and they're going to give him the ball a lot. Like, I really do believe that. And Corey, maybe in the beginning, this is how I'm envisioning things right now. Like, in the beginning of the season, because Isaiah Evans is back, they give him the ball a ton. And then, like, he tries stuff. And, like, obviously he was lights out as a spot up shooter last year. But, like, maybe this year in year two, like, he tries doing more stuff with the ball in his hands. And then it doesn't go well. And maybe it feels kind of like a Brandon Ingram type of, like, copy dupe. And then, like, Coach Shire just goes like, man, I kind of don't like this. I'd rather just give Cam the ball a lot. And then Isaiah kind of, like, falls a little bit, like, out of the rotation, or, like, not as much in the rotation. And then it's like a lot of Hemenia and Darren Harris, and, you know, and then, like, he just gets upset, and then it becomes kind of like a nasty situation. It's kind of where my brain is going with Isaiah Evans. Like, I do like the player, but I'm just wondering what if, like, things don't go the way that he's envisioning, because, like, he's seeing himself as, like, a returner. He probably wants to see and have more responsibility as, like, a on-ball guy. I don't know. I don't know the guy personally. This is my scenario that I'm bringing up, and I think it's one that could happen, Corey. I don't know.
I could totally see that. There's a lot of mouths to feed on that team for sure, right? I do think his gravity, though, is going to be a good thing for Cam, for Gamba for Caden Boozer. And, between him and Darren Harris and Hymenia, I think having those floor spacing options are going to be important. I mean, Isaiah Evans, I think it was like 17 and a half or 18 and a half threes per 100 possessions last year. Like he was just letting it fly, but like he doesn't need the ball in his hands. Like he can run off movement. He definitely can create with the ball in his hands. I think he definitely wants to. So I see the scenario you're presenting, and I think that's an interesting name. I think ultimately his stock probably ends up somewhere similar.
Okay.
But as far as guys who don't meet expectations, he could certainly be there because he could be just a shot chucker, right? And maybe he doesn't shoot it as well as he did last year, and that becomes a conversation. For me, it's Miles Bird. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Like I just, he's an upperclassman who's a long sleeve t-shirt guy. And when you're playing basketball in long sleeve tees, it's not comfortable. It's typically I'm a little concerned about how frail I am and how frail I look on the court.
Or the opposite sometimes.
In his case, I don't think he's a good offensive player. He shoots a lot of threes, which is cool, but he doesn't make them, and he never has. Defensively, I mean, the defensive event creation is rad. Like it's ridiculous. He blocks shots. He, gets a ton of steals. That's all cool. But like, he's not 6'8", 6'9", and is going to be like going up and down the positional spectrum. Like, I don't think he has as much defensive versatility at the NBA level as he does in college. And that stuff, while it's great and it is like an indicator statistically that, translates, like he's not going to be blocking a ton of shots at the next level. Like maybe the steals stuff, works out, but like, I don't know, dude, like Jalen Clark can't shoot either right now. And he's probably a better defender than Miles Bird is.
Yep.
Like there are just dudes all over who can't shoot, aren't really good at the rim, and can play defense. And you can look at his free throw percentage and you can say, oh, well, the free throw percentage. So he's going to be, and it's like, all right, well, I mean, I think after like return, like if he's not efficient this year, like why is that going to get better at? Like, to me, he needs to take such a leap. And then it's like, well, it's a 1-year thing. Like, is that going to translate at the next level? Like, I don't know. I just don't get it with Miles Bird. I never did. I never really bought into it. I think it's just looking at like cool queries on Bartorvik, but then you kind of watch what he does on the court and you go, I don't think this is really going to work at the level people do at the next level. And maybe I'm an idiot. And that he just has the ball in his hands. He's rocking out. He's making plays and he looks like Jalen Williams at Santa Clara. For me, I don't think he's going to live up to the hype as, one of these cool wing returners.
Yeah. We've been idiots before, Corey.
All the time.
Yeah. Maybe both of us could be dead wrong. Maybe Isaiah Evans has an incredible season for Duke. Maybe Miles Bird goes on an absolute heater, takes 8 threes a game, makes 42% of them. Who knows? But I still think both of our scenarios, like, it could happen. Like, I love everything you said about Evans, Corey, but I do wonder if it's that thing, right? Where it's like, I'm here in year 2, I'm a returner, put the ball in my hands, I can go create, I can be KD, and then it goes ugly, So both with him and Miles Bird, I think it's very possible that they don't work out. So
yeah. Or again, we look like idiots and
right.
People come back to this and clip it and we laugh at it. We like to have fun here. All right. So I paired Steven and Metcalf's questions together too, because I think they share some similarities. So Steven's question is, how does this class of returning prospects stack up to more recent classes? And Metcalf's question is, this freshman class seems to have a pretty steep fall off. Do you think the 26 draft looks more like the 2022 class, where we get a bunch of sophomore upperclassmen risers, or like the 2024 class, where teams still say screw it and take a big swing on freshmen despite the flaws and questions?
I'm going to try to answer this as one question.
Yeah.
I think teams are going to say, screw it, swing for the fences and grab freshmen because, and Corey, this is a point that you've making throughout our pod today. I think that's the trend of the NBA. I think NBA front offices, they value age and control and potential and ceiling stuff, right? And I think, great example, Chris Sinek, Darius Acuff, Nate Amen, whatever. Like there are going to be these freshmen, right? Koa Pete, right? They're going to be these freshmen that they may not have excellent freshman seasons, but because of the pedigree, because of the talent, because of the age, because of the measurables, I can see teams being like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to use the 8th pick in the draft and take Koa Pete rather than whoever returner, right? Just because there's the hope and the there's a potential future where they become something greater. And so I do feel like this returner class, like we've talked about them the last 30 minutes, and there aren't a ton of names that we're like crazy excited about. So to your point, Steve, or to your question, Steven, I feel like this isn't the best returning class, which then means that I think a lot of NBA teams will just swing for the fences with freshmen. And I feel like the whole lottery might be 14 freshmen this next draft. It's possible. I don't know. Probably not. But it could be one of those drafts where they just keep swinging for the young kids because they're hoping for the best. And maybe the returners don't have like big seasons where they get you super excited. And maybe the best return is like LeBaron Filan. And like he has a small jump in shooting, but not enough for you to get like crazy about. And then he goes like 15th or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, even with Jaden Quintons, like, he's technically a returner, but it's like teams are still going to bet on his youth because he's younger than a lot of the freshmen. I agree with you. I think that it's going to be more like, I guess, 2024. There was 3 players who were drafted in the lottery who were upperclassmen, 2022 at 6. So I think that teams are going to just bet on the youth. They're going to bet on the upside, the size, versus the question marks that the returners have. And I like a lot of the returners, like some guys that we didn't even talk about. Carter Knox. I like Carter Knox a lot. Cam Williams going to Kentucky. I like Cam Williams a lot. I like Pat Ngamba. I like the Florida guys. I don't know if I love any of I love watching Xavier play. I love watching Boogie play. I like Hogg. I love how he plays. Condon, I'm a little more skeptical of, but I see kind of like that Mo Wagner kind of like Christian Anderson coming off a great summer. He was really good last year. But all these guys, there are questions about all of them in ways that like I think teams are just gonna be like, all right, if I'm drafting a question mark, can I draft the kid who's 6'11" with a 7'5" wingspan and maybe can shoot it and like can handle a little bit? Like, sure, I think Sturts is going to go in the first round and potentially in the top 20. But like, dude, like Nick Clifford was awesome last year. Freaking awesome, right? What do you go? 24th, 25th?
Right.
I think unless you have like crazy physical tools, like Jalen Williams, one of the reasons I think that he went in the lottery is because not only was he awesome, but like he has a 7'2" wingspan or whatever at 6'5" without shoes, whatever he measured at. Like he also has like crazy physical measurements. And so maybe that means Yax is a guy that gets drafted a little higher, but also he's a couple of years older than like a guy like Jalen Williams was. Like I think if Neek had a 7'2" wingspan, he goes earlier. So I think that it's like tools, production, upside. Like the youth is what I think is going to win out. Because a lot of the young guys that are going to be raw, I think, have really fun tools. Dwight Powell last year went in the first round, right? Like, yeah, Norin Rads, Cedric Coward went high, barely played. The wingspan, big thing was his measurements, right? Yeah. So I think that plays a big part, and I think the guys who have those crazy measurements maybe get a boost when the time comes. But I think it's the returners all have question marks, even if I like a lot of them.
Yeah. I agree, Corey. I agree, and and also like a lot of these freshmen are really tantalizing, like just straight up. And it makes sense to kind of like, if you're thinking, like if you're drafting high up in the draft, like you're thinking about the future, you're not thinking about next season so much. So it makes sense to take those bets. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. Ignacio asked, do you think Braden Burries could be a sleeper? Would he need another college year? Guard going to Arizona? I think he's a multi-year college guy. I saw him. I mean, yeah, I've obviously watched his film. I saw him in person, McDonald's. I don't know. We'll see. I hope he proves me wrong. I don't know if what I saw made me like go, oh man, like this guy's got to be on a board. But again, like we talked about how there's a lot of questions with returners. We talked about there's a lot of questions even with the freshmen. So it wouldn't shock me if he came out, if he had a good season. But to me, he felt like more of a multi-year guy, especially with the NIL payouts. Personally, so
I saw very little of Braden Murray's, so I will. Yeah.
All right, Albert's question is top international guy that you're excited to watch next season.
I'm going to answer my own question here. I have a couple. And like, I get it. Like some of these guys we saw already at the Nike Hoop Summit, but like obviously like Tunde. Mm-hmm. I know he played in California, but still like international guy. Man, everyone's going to say Dame, but I know it's Dame. So yes. Dame Sarr from Barcelona coming over to play for Illinois, I think is Duke. A really... Oh, he's going to Duke.
Yeah.
What? Why did I think he was going to
because there was a lot of rumors about Illinois, but
that's
he's going to Duke. That Duke team's going to be fun.
So Dame is interesting, guys. I don't know if you haven't seen Dame play yet. Dame is like, man, he's really unrefined in his game, but there's a lot to be excited about because of like how like weird and long he is, and yet like he's got some guard skills to him. And like Barcelona used him in a really weird way. They just kind of threw him in the corner and was like, hey, bud, you're just going to take corner threes. And like, he didn't really like that. And like, even when he left Barcelona, there was some beef there from what I understand, but I'm excited to see him play. He's another guy that
he was awesome at
Hoop
Summit, like in practices, awesome. In the game. He's 6'8", with like a 7-foot wingspan. Mm-hmm. He has on-ball skills. We'll see if he's consistent with the shot. He made shots at the Hoop Summit.
Right.
And I thought he's a guy that like I was monitoring. I thought he was like 6'5", 6'6". Like I didn't realize he was as tall as he actually was. So like the fact that he can kind of play with wings, but also has like some equity potentially to like, run ball screens and stuff. And then like his defensively, like, yes, he has to put on weight, but like the size, the length, and he's competitive, right? Yeah. Like he was a guy that, him and Tunde were in the post-game conference together. And I thought they both gave like really mature answers to a lot of the questions and how much it meant to them to rep their countries and to feel that camaraderie with the team, which you don't typically get for these all-star settings and their buy-in there. Like I think he's going to be a big time player for Duke. You're muted, Albert. Or I don't hear you at least.
Oh, sorry. There's a mute button on my mic that I did not know about till now. But to your point, Corey, Coach Marshall Cho did an incredible job of getting those guys to buy in. For it to be an exhibition, for them to spend the week there in Portland and to come together and to become a team like that, to buy into the culture that he set, the standards that he set, I think was really amazing. And that was the first time ever that game went to overtime in the history of its existence. And that, Coach Cho and that coaching staff, they deserve a lot of credit for what they built there within a week with these guys who a lot of those guys hadn't played together. So
and the narrative,
really beautiful.
The narrative there was like, this team's going to get blown out by 50.
Right. Everyone was saying that. A lot of people in national media were saying that, but it is what it is. Another guy that we saw there that I think I'm really interested by is Omar Meyer,
Yeah,
who's going to be playing at
he was
Purdue.
my
Just
answer.
okay, he's built like a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Like, he's a smaller guy, I get it, but really athletic, really strong, a floor general. Liked his outside shot. I can't wait to see what that looks like playing for that Purdue team. I think he's going to come in, and he's got a lot of experience playing in Europe. I forgot what team he was playing for, but like he was playing like in Euro Cup games against like Bayern Munich and like Fenerbahce and whatever. And I'm like, dude, this guy is going to come in and be just like seasoned, and he's going to come in ready to play, and I think he's going to bully some kids in college basketball. Like, they're going to look at him and be like, oh, he's just one of us, and he's going to be a grown ass man, and he's going to just absolutely body some kids, and they're going to be shocked by how savvy and
Yeah.
strong and nuanced and smart he is.
Not your typical freshman.
Not your typical freshman. I think he's going to have a real advantage, and that's going to be a lot of fun for me to watch.
Yeah, he gets buckets. The year last summer during the FIBA tournament, when everybody was talking about Ben Seraph, and we were too, because obviously Seraph was awesome in that tournament. But I remember asking Ignacio in our group chat, I was like, yo, who's this Omer Mayer kid? Like, he rocks, like multiple 30-point games. Awesome playmaker. And I think the shot has gotten a lot better over the course of this year. Obviously Braden Smith and Mayer are not like the biggest backcourt, but I think that they're so smart and savvy and skilled and competitive that they're going to be able to play together in that backcourt at Purdue. He's just so much fun to watch to me. And like you said, like, he has real like, this is not, he's a real deal, like, dude who's polished, and maybe he's not a guy who comes out next year, but it also wouldn't shock me. It also wouldn't shock me if he was a one and done.
Yeah, I just, Corey, like we said, he's coming in with so much.
Yeah.
Not your typical freshman guard, a guy that's going to be so tough. And I love the Braden Smith point. Another guy that, Corey, we've mentioned for years about how much we like his game and how he's such a baller, but of course, like, just, size limitations, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think of the international guys, but also, like, okay, I'm going to throw one more in there because he showed up to Hoop Summit and we were just like, whoa. Sean Abayev.
Yep.
I don't know what he is, man. He's just a flamethrower is what he is. And I just want to see what that looks like because he's not shy at all. And that'll be fun.
Yeah. He was, he like popped to me at the NBA Academy games a couple of years ago. And I was like, yo, who is this kid? And I looked his height up and I was like, oh, damn, he's like pretty tall. He'd be even taller if he fixed that kind of like hunchback. He got like bad posture. But if he fixes it, he'd be even taller. And then I saw him at the Under Armour Elite last summer, and he was giving buckets out. Like, I was at the practices. He killed the OT, and then I saw him at McDonald's and Nike, and that dude's going to get buckets. Like, he can hit shots from all over the floor. He heats up in a hurry. I think he's got a little bit of passing juice. He doesn't love doing it, but like, I think he has good vision. We'll see. We'll see what that looks like for him next year. I think he's going to Georgia.
Cincinnati?
Oh, Cincinnati. You're right. It's Cincinnati. I knew it was a team that was red. So I want to see what it looks like, but he's definitely tentatively as a guy who I'm like, you know what? He could be a riser because he can really score. He's got plus positional size. Obviously, like, he's a top prospect. That's a good call out for sure. All right. Last question from the No Ceiling staff. This was from me. There's a clear top 3. Who is your preseason favorite to land at 4 and 5? Now, I will say Michael Brown is a guy who has really been dominating a lot of the conversation on who goes after the Darren Peterson, AJ DeBonza, Cam Boozer trio. Is there anybody else in your mind that you have penned currently as the favorite to land at number 5?
No one's gonna like this answer. Maybe some will. What am I saying? Maybe some will. Before last season, Corey.
Yep.
Very few people had Con Knippel going really high in the draft. Very few.
That's true. I did.
What if Nick Kamenia just goes top 5? My thing with him is obviously the shooting is really interesting with him. I love his feel, man. Like I
he makes some sick passes.
Oh, dude, I was watching some of the FIBA stuff this morning, and I'm like, he hit some like hit away passes in transition to guys, and I'm like, what the hell was that? Like, it's some really, really good stuff. And I feel like the passing feel with him, the off-ball movement, the shooting, like what if he's the guy is where my brain is at right now, and he's big and he's really smart, like I said. What if he's the guy is kind of where my brain is at.
I don't think that's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's crazy. He's got good size. I think he's probably tall. He's taller than Khan, I think.
Maybe. Yeah.
I think
maybe an inch.
I think he's got some. Maybe it's just because he's slimmer. He looks taller. Yeah. I don't know. Khan was farm strong.
Right.
Trailer strong. What'd you call it?
I don't remember.
Tractor strong. I don't. He's definitely an interest. If the efficiency is there like it was with Khan, right? He's definitely got a shot. But the passing is going to go underrated. Did he have this pass from like half court in one of his high school games that the needle he thread to the rim just on a rope, like it looked like a quarterback on the move. It was sick. Like, and then he's doing some like he hits the weak side coming off ball screens, and I don't know how much of that he'll get to show at Duke. There's a lot of ball handlers there, but he's got it. I like that call out for me. And this is a guy that if you go to the Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceiling show on Friday, you're going to get a full scouting report on. Albert and I just did. I think Tunde Yusufu is being heavily underrated in this class. He's going to Baylor. He measured at 6'5.25" with a 6'8.5" wingspan. I think that he's every bit the prospect that VJ Edgecombe was coming into the season. He's popped for me every time I've seen him live. I love how he approaches the game. I love his demeanor. I love how I think his creation ability is going to rapidly improve. I think the shot is going to get there. And everything he offers as a two-way player.
Yeah.
And his outcomes in the NBA, obviously he looks and plays like Anthony Davis on the floor. He's not, Anthony Edwards. He's not Anthony Edwards, but he looks like him, clearly studies his game. But a name that you're going to hear, Ben Mathurin, I think he's got some Ben Mathurin to his game. Downhill, really hard to stop from getting into the paint. Really, really defends, excellent ground coverage, competes, guards up and down the positional spectrum. And to me, I think he's even a threat to go fourth. I think Mikel is the safer bet because, I want to see more from Tunde as a playmaker. Yeah. Consistently, where I think Mikel, yes, he's going to have some questions about his frame because he's skinny right now, but he looks like he might actually be 6'5". If you saw a picture standing next to Donovan Mitchell, who's 6'3" in shoes, he looks like he's got some height on him. He can pass. He gets to the rim. He's super athletic too. He could shoot. There's maybe a safety to Mikel Brown, but I think Tunde's right there. I think he's right there, man. Prototypical shooting guard, small forward size. And I think if he shoots it even a little bit, his stock is going to skyrocket. I love the way he plays. I'm a sucker for his game.
Yeah. I mean, Corey, as you mentioned, we just did the pod and there's a lot to like. Your comp to Benedict, I think, is a good one. My comp, I gave, who did I give? Sprewell, Latrell Sprewell. Yep. Man, the thing is, I think he's going to shoot it. And people are going to fall in love with him. because of what you said, Corey. Like, he is so dynamic both ways. He's a blur in transition, more athletic than people give him credit for. Ferocious defender, ferocious on both sides of the floor.
Yeah.
Is going to do the small thing, going to get his hands dirty. A lot to like. So, yep.
Yeah.
Corey, I'm with you. I like the Tunde call as well. Both guys, I think, could be great options.
Norin Rad says Karan Butler.
Oh,
loved Karan's game.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Another nasty guy.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody watching live. Shout out to everybody on YouTube in the comment section. Let's get to some comments, some questions. We'll do quick hitters here with the questions. Tix XLT, TLX XLT. I don't know how to pronounce it. I slowly saw the narrative shift from Darren and AJ. Did AJ lose the spot more than Darren gained it?
Damn. I think my answer, Corey, will be I think AJ lost it a little bit. But my thing is, and this is the point we made when we did our pod on him up for Locked On. It doesn't mean it's over. There's a world where AJ has a great freshman season for BYU and like shows some improvement in the areas where he's been criticized for when it comes to concentration and effort and things like that. We're not saying that he's a lazy player or anything, but he's had moments where his concentration can come and go a little bit. And him being kind of this like marquee headliner type of player, there is this inherent responsibility and accountability that comes with a player of that ilk and of that level. And so I think when it comes to specifically to AJ, I think he's lost it a little bit, but there's a real world where he could gain it back from Darren, is my opinion right now.
So you're right, because I do think AJ lost it from mostly his approach to things, but he's so good and so talented that you don't lose it when you're that good and talented if Darren doesn't also go out and take it. Yeah. Like they went head to head and Darren put 60 on him, so, and then Darren's just been amazing over the last few years. So yes, like AJ did lose it because he has been kind of, I think, the most popular name in the public sphere, but Darren, I think, also went out and took it. It had to be a combination of both, in my opinion. All right, let's see. Do you guys, from Brian D for 3, do you guys agree that AJ has the best mid-range package for an incoming freshman since Jason Tatum? I don't. I think maybe Bryce Sensabaugh might have had the best mid-range package, who's off to like, he might be like the most underrated young player in his like shooting through the first couple of years has been like absolutely insanely ridiculously underrated. And I think that he had like the whole DeMar DeRozan package during his season at Ohio State.
Bryce Sensabaugh's girlfriend recently posted a TikTok video of him at a local park playing with kids on a shitty court. And it was unbelievable. It was great. He was dunking on them, crossing them up, taking one-step fadeaways on their heads. Incredible stuff. I'm with you, Corey. Bryce, we did a pod on Bryce, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We did. We definitely did. Yeah, sorry. It's so long ago now. Can you believe it?
It was.
But we did a pod on him. We loved him. I still really like him. Think there's real opportunity for him. I can't think of anyone mid-range. Some people really liked Jaden Springer back then. I don't know.
AJ's up there, man. I mean, obviously AJ's super polished and he has like the height advantage and the athleticism. So he's definitely in the conversation. Like no doubt about that. All right. So this is Generational Hater asks a good question. And it's one I'd have to think about, but he asks, in football, colleges have things like DBU, defensive back university. What college programs consistently put out players with certain qualities? For example, I noticed Kelvin Sampson coached Houston prospects that go to the NBA generally have defense and hustle that translates.
I mean, Corey, you mentioned it before. Baylor, or maybe this was on the other pod. I'm getting
Yeah.
things mixed up. But you mentioned Baylor, right? And the run of guards. Davion, Keontae, right? VJ, now Tunde, right?
Jacoby
Maybe
Walter.
Jacoby Walter as well. Maybe that's an example of that. Like Baylor's their tough guard I don't know. Something like that. Maybe that's an option. I need some more time to think.
I agree though. I mean, Baylor was the first one that came to mind for me. Was definitely like shooting guard university, I guess. I think they've had like a really good run of shooting guards. Houston, definitely a good call out. Specifically, I think they've had a monopoly on guys who are like 6'7" or 6'8" with like a 7'4" wingspan, who are kind of like defensive tilted like monster bigs. So I think keeping it there, they have kind of a stranglehold on that kind of player. Seems like Illinois is becoming the international stomping ground of players. I mean, that's kind of just bearing itself out.
Kentucky when Calipari was there, right?
Yeah.
Kentucky guard
Yep.
Future star guard just freaking adding at the end of everything.
Auburn is like a hotbed for getting the most out of like undersized guards, I think. Just like letting them rock out. I think they're like exceptional at identifying those kind of players.
UCLA, unrefined center,
in recent times.
In recent times, sorry. Yeah, not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Walton.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a tough one.
Yeah, it is. It is a tough one. It definitely deserves more time. But I think those are some pretty like off the top. I think those are some pretty good answers.
But also, Corey, I feel like generational hater, like his example of Kelvin Sampson in Houston's a good one, right?
It's a
like,
great one.
It's a really good one. Like you gave the best answer to your question. So you're a generational hater of us because you asked us a question that you already gave the best answer to.
All right. Seems like we're going to wrap it up there. Man, felt good to be back on the No Ceilings NBA feed. Well, before we get out of here, Dre, who looks like gave us a super chat, asked, is Caden Boozer coming in as the best true point guard?
Man, I have a lot of trouble with Caden. But for this question, I can say okay. Like of the freshmen, right? I guess is the question. Because I don't think he's the. But then, damn, like we just talked about Omer.
Yeah.
And man, they go kind of band for band there.
They do. They definitely do. He's definitely one of the first names for incoming freshmen, and considering the fact that he's 6'5" and strong as a bull, if he even shoots it a little bit, like he's definitely going to be a guy who is like rising up boards for sure. Michael Brown is probably in that conversation. Not quite as like pure point guardy, as those guys. But yeah, I would say those two are probably the top two guys. I don't think Abdallas is.
No,
he's meets that threshold. Acuff, I think, is way more tilted to score, right?
Marbury.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this question, Corey. How did we skip this? How many points could Albert score in his basketball prime in an NBA preseason game? Just to be charitable, I'll be charitable and say 0, 0, 0.
You should have at least given your measurements to say that you can hang physically.
Okay, my basketball prime, I was like 6'2", 210. At my absolute prime, I could grab the rim. Wingspan is 6'6". At my basketball prime, I could grab the rim with two hands. Could never dunk a basketball. Could dunk a volleyball because my hands were not big enough or strong enough. That's all I've got, guys. I never played basketball at a high level like Corey. I've always loved the game, played a lot, right? Played intramurals, whatever, but never at that level. If you put me on a court, 0 points, 6 fouls. I could do that for you. I'm from New York, so no free layups. So
No
that's all
layup
I've
rule.
got.
All right, guys. That's going to do it for this episode. You guys are the best rocking with us in the off season. Make sure that you like, subscribe to the show, share that with your friends. Maybe you head to the merch store, pick up a No Ceilings mug that I've been drinking out of, or some t-shirts and hoodies, some hats, some headwear, outerwear. But we're going to be rocking all season long. Make sure on Friday you check out the No Ceilings, the Locked On NBA Draft Show with No Ceilings for a scouting report on Tunde Esefu. And that's going to be it for us, guys. We're out. Peace.
Peace.